Aloha. So today I want to talk to you about awakening. Yesterday I did an activation meditation live, and I talked about awakenings because when you have an event that is um, an activation or an awakening, sometimes that's because of a health situation or something dramatic in your life, or sometimes it's nothing at all, but you wake up just changed. And you think that like once you awaken, everything falls into place and it's all rainbows and butterflies, but there's actually a process to it. And it can be sometimes short, sometimes it can be long until it actually takes place in integration and grounds. And this process can actually take anywhere like to 2 or 3 years. Most of the time it is 2 or 3 years, because there's 6 phases to it. And I got this from another gal, and I'll have to cite her because I always want to give credit to who I learned things from. And it was really help. It was really helping me to ground and understand the stages that I'm at. And the last 3 years have been pretty hard on me, as most people, because of COVID and all this stuff, right? But for me, it was a reoccurrence of my colitis. I was a separation with my little girl's daughter, starting over again with my business, reinventing it, closing the old one down, and then like almost being forced out of certain things, like the carpet being pulled underneath me. This is all part of it. And even though I knew that, it wasn't easy. And I can't even bypass my lessons, even though I understand energy waves with it. And so, the 6 stages of awakening, if you feel like you are having your awakening and you're like, when is this over? And it's just so daunting and so long. Okay, so the first stage is the event, okay? And then afterwards, it's bliss. Um, Bliss. And so, bliss can be like this moment. Like when I had my out of body experience, I was in bliss probably for a good 2 months, okay, where everything feels surreal and things line up. It's kind of euphoric, magic. And then you hit the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul, or sometimes the dark night of the ego, okay, where this it can be a long process, and it could be pretty hard. So normally this dark night of the soul could be it's like 3 months to like maybe even like a couple or a few years. It's pretty hard, but there are so many lessons to it, and it's like the wounded warrior, and you come out of it forged and with strength. And afterwards, you go into the void. You go into the void, and the void is where you are clearing things, and it's not as deep as the dark night of the soul, but there might be some confusions how you're going to make this happen. It's a healing time. So the dark night of the soul is about, like I said, can be like 2 or 3 years. And then the void could be anywhere as well, a few months. It's normally not as long as the dark night of the soul, thank God, but it will be maybe like a few months, and sometimes like a year, okay? And then grounding. Grounding. So the dark night of the soul is kind of like the big part, right? And then the void is a little bit more of like a transition period. It's also where like you integrate at the end, and then you ground. You have to have integration before you ground. And grounding is where then you connect things. Things make sense. Things line up, and you're on a pretty good like level instead of like climbing up. And then it's like being or walking into your purpose. And so then that's when you actually become that person that you're supposed to be to live your purpose. So, like I said, the process can be sometimes short, like probably more like 6 months, but more so like 2 or 3 years until it really takes. And so for me, I know that that is where I'm at right now, the grounding slash being and purpose. And so that feels really good. And today I had the chance to go to Evergreen for a face reading, in which I love doing, where I show people their passion and their superpowers, and I activate their muse, which is one of my purposes. And I found that out when I had my out of body experience in Hawaii, January of 2020. 2021, and then another time January 2022. Yeah, so that 2022 is probably part of my void. um, so now things are grounding finally and taking root. I'm doing more of my face reading and my energy clearings. I'm more confident. I'm teaching it, and so I'm more aligned with it, and I can feel it. And so I just want you to have trust in the process. Trust in the process, and the universe is always working out for you. But it's not meant to be done alone. It is not meant to be done alone. If you share and you are vulnerable and you surrender to it, it becomes easier. It becomes more joyful. You'll go through it faster. So if you need help with this, please reach out. You're not alone. I know that I felt more alone in the last year, and that helped me to make some decisions. And I realized I wasn't alone, and that there's many others out there just like me. And so there's many out there just like you. And so don't do it alone. Reach out to me, and let's maybe get some insight for you, show you your patterns, and show you your path. In your face reveals the roadmap of your potential and how you want to get there. So there's many ways to get there, and I want you to go according to your elements, and that may you always be in your element.